Hi, this is Dr. Searcy. Welcome to English 203, Section 46, where you're going to get literature from a Christian perspective. Because it's the first week of class, I thought I would give a brief overview of what you can expect from the course, what you'll learn, what the benefits of what you'll learn would be, and how that connects to Christianity. So we'll cover over 700 years worth of literature in this course. We'll start with the medieval period, move through the Renaissance, and then end in the Enlightenment. We'll read everything from an epic about a Swedish warrior named Beowulf to another epic about the fall of man called Paradise Lost. In between, you'll read Dr. Faustus about a man who makes a deal with the devil, a play by Shakespeare called Twelfth Night, which is like a romantic comedy, and satire like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales and Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, and even some lyric poetry as well. Some of the most prominent British authors you can expect us to cover here are Geoffrey Chaucer, Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, John Milton, Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope. Many of you may have already read these authors in high school or for a previous college class. And my hope here is that you'll walk away with a sense of why we are still talking about these authors more than 500 years after they lived. You'll gain some clarification about three things that are typically seen outside of the world of literature and how they help us read literature more effectively. That would be the English language, politics, and religion. Will gain a better sense of all three from the works that we read this semester. Now, there are some significant societal shifts that accompany our move from the medieval period through the Enlightenment. The medieval period is totally Catholic, so we'll begin with a culture that is enmeshed in Catholicism. When we move to the Renaissance, we'll talk about Protestantism and the Reformation. And then finally, in the Enlightenment, we'll talk about the beginnings of rationalism. That is a way of looking at the world that denies God's presence in it. To help us do that, we'll take a look at what I call the literary analysis triangle, and we'll examine three things in every single work we look at. The context for the work, the stuff outside the work that can help us understand it better, when it was written, who wrote it, and what key historical facts will help us understand it better. We'll talk about form, that is the genre or type of literature that we're examining, whether that's an epic or a romance or a satire or a tragedy or a comedy. And finally, we'll talk about a theme. A theme is just a subject from ordinary life that the author has chosen to explore in a work of literature. It could be everything from family to faith. So those are the three things we'll be focusing on this semester. Now, what are the benefits of the class? When you leave this class, you should have exposed yourself to 7 weeks of really difficult thinking, reading, and writing. And if you look at those attributes, those are skills you want to have. You want to be a good critical thinker. You want to be able to read and understand what you're reading. And you want a chance to be able to write well. That is, communicate what's in your mind to the person who reads what you've written. And you will have a chance to practice all those skills during this class. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention how studying literature gives us a chance to think about how our literary creations, what humans have imagined and written, connects to the story of the great creator, God, the way that he created us perfect, the way that we fell to sin in the garden, and the way in which through Christ, the Son of God's sacrifice on the cross, we are being redeemed to him. When we look at the great story God has written for us, it can give us a better appreciation for the stories that human beings have written, and vice versa. When we begin to take into account and treasure the stories that people have written, we can understand better the story that God is trying to tell us in history. Be well, do good work, keep in touch. I'm excited about learning along with you this semester.